of Bhishma Panchak, and we are going to know some about Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, starting from Manglachar. So first we'll start Manglachar. Om Agyanti Mirandase Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Anvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanshakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Hare Om Tat Sat. So Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is very, very important in our parampara. As you can see the picture above, here we have Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. He is the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Okay, so we'll start with his pranam mantra. Namo Gaur Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtahe Vipralambhara Sambuddhe Padma Bhujayate Nama. What does it mean? I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who is renunciation personified. He is always merged in a feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna. So, Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he was born in 1830 into a Vaishya family on the banks of Padma River in Bagyan village in Faridpur district, which is now in Bangladesh. Okay. So now what happened was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was, one time somebody asked him, actually somebody told him that your Gurudev is not literate. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj did not like it. Obviously, any blasphemy or anything negative about the Vaishnavas is not acceptable. And he was a spiritual master. So this person was very upfront, and he told him, "You've heard that your Guru Maharaj doesn't know how to read and write. Is that so?" Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, "What are you talking about? Do you know my Guru Maharaj can sign? He has a signature. Have you seen his signature?" So the person was bewildered. He said, "No, but we heard that he doesn't know how to read and write." So he said, "No, I am his signature." So imagine what kind of respect he had for his spiritual master. It is there that Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was not into reading and writing. He was a bhajananandi. He always used to do bhajan. On the other hand, he has a disciple like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, who is famous as a Simha Guru, Lion Guru. He was a Ghoshtyanandi. He used to preach like a lion. He was so aggressive, but he never took any credit. He gave all the credit of his preaching to his Guru Maharaj. Actually, one time, he was traveling in a boat and with few devotees, and one of them asked Shri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj that you are a Ghoshtyanandi and your Guru is a Bhajananandi. How is this so? We know that you're so much into preaching, whereas your spiritual master was in the mood of just doing kirtan, japa all the time. And it is said, from a Siddhant point of view, that if a disciple is not in the mood of Guru, then he is said to lose faith in his Guru. Again, this was not acceptable by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. So at that time, they were, going in a boat. And he told this devotee that, can you hear the sound of the motor which is running the boat? So he said, yes. And then he said, but you know what? This boat is run, this motor is run by a battery. Can you hear the battery? So he said, no. So he said, without the battery, the motor cannot make any noise. So if there is no battery, what will the motor do? Similarly, it is my Guru Dev who's doing bhajan in Navadvip. That is not visible. What is visible is the preaching, the publication work that I am doing. But can a motor run without battery? No. Similarly, my preaching is happening only because of my Gurudev's bhajan. So every preacher should have this mood of giving credit to the Guru, because we are present, whatever the preacher is presenting is the words of the Guru as it is. So, once somebody asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj that what is the result of diving deep into the study of Shastras? And then he said, it is only by studying deeply the Shastras that you will come in contact with a great personality like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So the fact that we are able to hear something about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is a blessing in itself. We are not qualified to glorify him, but we are just repeating what we have heard from our Acharya, so that we know the greatness of these preachers and we appreciate them and try to follow their instructions as much as we can. So basically, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, when he appeared, he was given the name Vamsidas. Why was he given the name Vamsidas? Because he was as beautiful as the flute of Krishna, not in terms of looks, but in terms of qualities, not only in terms of looks, but in terms of qualities as well. So he was named Vamsidas, and as the system was in those days, that there used to be Bal Vivah, child marriage at a very early age. So he was also married at a very early age when he didn't even realize what marriage was. And then when he grew up and he realized that he was married, so he did not run away from his responsibilities. Though from the very beginning, he wanted to do only bhajan. He wanted to become a renunciant. He knew the value of life, and his love for Krishna was in mood of separation. Radharani and Krishna was in mood of separation, and he desperately wanted to, dedicate his life in doing bhajan. But then he found, when he grew up, he found out that he was married. Now, obviously, he didn't know when he was young, but now that he knew, he did not run away from his responsibilities. He did not shy at all. He very religiously, very sincerely took up the Grihastha ashram till the age of 29 years. Some say that he was in Grihastha ashram for 29 years, but that's not it. He was till the age of 29. Because when he turned 29, when he was 29, that's when his wife left this world. So when his wife left the world, he took it as a blessing from the Lord, because he wanted to do bhajan from the very beginning anyway. So he did not decide to remarry, not at all. He fulfilled his duties till the age of 29, and then he thought, okay, now if this is what Krishna wants, so be it. And then he moved to Vrindavan. Now in Vrindavan he stayed. He absorbed himself completely in Hari Katha, and he was doing bhajan all the time. What he used to eat would amaze you. He would eat the mud of Yamuna River or Radha Kund, and he used to drink their water. And that's how he used to live as Paramahansa. He was actually an avadut in Vrindavan. He used to move here and there, and he stayed there for 30 years. Now the question may arise, if he was eating mud from the Yamuna or Radha Kund, how is it that he didn't have any health issues? Because normally if you eat mud, there are chances that you will, not chances, it's natural that you will develop kidney stones or something. But the fact that nothing happened to him, he was doing very well when it came to his health, is a fact that he was in a spiritual body. He was not on a material platform. So anyway, so for 30 years, he lived in Vrindavan as an avadut. And, then came a time when in 1893, the appearance place of Mahaprabhu was founded by Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj and by the mercy of Jagannath Das Babaji, and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji received an invitation to be a part of the celebration. And it was signed by actually Jagannath Das Babaji. And seeing that, he agreed to go to Navadvip. He thought, this is where I should be. When he reached there, immediately Jagannath Das Babaji asked him, how is your bhajan going on? Now, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said that Vrindavan is nice. It is eternally nice. And even though I've spent 30 years there, I'm still struggling in chanting. So Jagannath Das Babaji said, you come and you stay here and do your bhajan here. So on the instructions of Jagannath Das Babaji, he accepted and he started living in Navadvip. Very simple life. Mostly he just had one piece of cloth around him, and if he needed, he would use the clothes which were discarded by people in general. He didn't spend time shopping around for himself. That's not what he used to do. Whatever was available, even the cooking, he used to cook in the pots which were broken and were discarded. They were not muchi, but they were just broken pots, the clay pots. And but he would use those. He never spent time. For him, all this was actually waste of time. He would make the most of his time by using these things. In fact, he used to say that the wood which was used for cooking, if it is used, or if the wood is from the dham, and cooking is done on that wood, then Krishna is more pleased. So he used to, the small sticks that would fall off from the tree or branches of the tree, he would use those for cooking. So in that way, he was very renounced, very, very renounced, always absorbed in his bhajan. He was so very much absorbed that he didn't even have the, sometimes he would bathe, sometimes he would not bathe, depending on how intense his bhajan was. Doesn't mean that we are not to take bath. We cannot imitate them. They are our previous acharyas. It's just to tell you that how intense his bhajan was, that he was not aware of the surroundings or himself, most of the time. And then there were times when he was aware and, of the things going around him, and then people would come and give him some, clothes or Lakshmi. So everything else he would say no to, But if somebody would give him or offer him Lakshmi, he would take. Now, this was a very big question mark for, people who would really get confused, and then they would go to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and then ask him that, he's supposed to be a renounced person. Why is he accepting Lakshmi? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and not only would he accept the Lakshmi, from time to time, he would keep it under his cloth and check if it is still there, like that. That means he would take care of of the Lakshmi that he would receive. Being a renounced person, this is not expected, and so these people, generally people without knowing the truth, are really judgmental and they like to jump to conclusions. So they went to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj and they asked him that, we thought he's a renounced person, then why is he accepting Lakshmi? Why is he taking such good care of things that he received, which are new. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, do you know what does he do? For himself, what does he eat? We know in Vrindavan, he was eating the mud of, from Yamuna or Radhakund. Here, he's eating mud from Ganga because he's on a spiritual platform. So nothing is happening to him, and we cannot imitate the Vaishnavas as we discussed. But what does he do with this money? So he had one disciple. He had made only one disciple who actually ditched him. So he decided that he didn't want any more disciples. Now, if somebody would give him in charity, he would use that money in the service of the Vaishnavas. So he would, there was one person who would take the charge of this. So he had appointed one Vaishnav by the name of Banmali Rai Mahasya. He would come and take that Lakshmi or new clothes which were given to Gaur Kishore babaji and use it in the service of Vaishnavas. Not only would he use it, but he was even accountable to Gaur Kishore babaji. Gaur Kishore babaji would take the account of every penny spent on which Vaishnav for what reason, like that. So that way they had a very nice tuning. So one time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he used to write a magazine by the name of Sajjan Toshani. In that magazine, he wrote an article glorifying his Guru Maharaj. The name of that article was Amar Prabhur Katha. So it was Amar Prabhu Katha means he used to call his spiritual master his Prabhu, and Katha means his pastimes, his leelas. So he had so much love and respect for his Guru Maharaj. Actually, one time, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was giving a lecture and he was describing the qualities of who is a Kanishta Adhikari, a Madhyam Adhikari, and an Uttam Adhikari. So when he gave the details about Kanisht and Madhyam, that's when Gaur Kishore Das Babaji entered and he sat down and he was listening to the Katha. Now when he came, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj came to the topic of Uttam Adhikari. He said that what can I tell about Uttam Adhikari? If you want to know the qualities of Uttam Adhikari, please take darshan of my Guru Maharaj. So then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he would shy away and then, he would just go walk out. He wouldn't say anything. So that was the kind of relationship they shared. So in this article, Amara Prabhu Katha, he was writing about one time about the renunciation. He was saying that renunciation is a quality of Krishna. And if there is a form, and a quality doesn't have a form, like beauty doesn't have a form, renunciation, name, fame, these are the 6 opulences of the Lord, and there's no form of a quality. But he wrote, if renunciation were to have a form, that form would be of my Gurudev. That's how big a renunciant he was. He said, my Gurudev, actually, he was writing that my Gurudev doesn't let anybody touch his lotus feet. And if anybody would do so, he would say, you are doomed. And that person would be like in a state of shock that I am, paying obeisances, my humble respects to the Vaishnava. And he's saying that I'm doomed. But what did he mean by saying that? He meant that your material life is finished. That means you'll have no more interest in your material life. And people actually got scared because not everybody was at that level where they were ready to give up their material life and getting a blessing like this because they were touching the lotus feet of the Lord. So now the people, lotus feet of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. So now people were scared of touching the lotus feet of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji because they wanted to enjoy the material life. So anyway, so then, one time it so happened that the same thing happened with Srila Prabhupada one time. He was traveling in a train and there was this some people who came to Srila Prabhupada and begging for his mercy, and they said, you just place your lotus hand on our head. We just need your kripa, your mercy. And Srila Prabhupada said, really? You need my kripa? So they said, yes. So Srila Prabhupada, he made them look at his shaven-headed disciples who were in the robes, dhoti kurta and all. And then he said, this is my mercy. Do you want? And those people were like, no, we don't want this, because all they wanted was some material benediction. So then they left. So similarly, this same thing was happening with Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Very frequently, people will come and try to touch his lotus feet, and this is one thing he just did not like. He actually was very, the word vairagya, it has two meanings. Vair means without, rag means attachment. So one meaning of vairagya is where there is no attachment to material things, right? Now, another meaning of vairagya is vishisht rupena rag, which means special attachment to, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as his pranam mantra says, Sakshat Vairagya Murti. So, from material point of view, yes, he had no attachment to anything. And as he had, why? Because of the second meaning, because he had that vishisht rag, he had that special attachment for Krishna. Actually, the pranam mantra, the second line says about his vipralamba, him being vipralamba rasambade. In that mood, vipralamba is a mood of separation. That is the rasa that he was enjoying. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj used to say that his vairagya was not what drew him to his guru as much as his mood of separation from Shri Radha and Krishna was what attracted to him the most. Then actually, the first time when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj is the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj is the guru of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji used to consider Bhaktivinoda Thakur as his guru. I mean, he was his guru. So, and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji always used to sing a song about this mood of separation of Shri Radha and Krishna. So this song was the song which Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj heard for the first time when he met, the first time when he met Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was when he was singing this song. And that was in 1898 at Swanand Sukhad Kunj in Godrum Dweep. And he was so enchanted by this song, the heartfelt emotions in this song, in this kirtan. He later actually taught his disciples also this song. And this song actually describes describes Raghunath Das Goswami's ecstatic separation from Sri Mati Radharani. It's called Kothai Go Premamai Radhe Radhe. Kothai Go Premamai Radhe. It's a long song, but the gist is, where is that incarnation of love, Srimati Radharani? And the whole song is in the mood of separation. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj from his childhood had been hearing about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji from his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And but he had never seen him. And this is the first time when he was singing this song. This is the first time when he saw him, and he was so drawn to him. Actually, even Bhaktivinoda Thakur Maharaj had recommended his son to take initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. So that time, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was Vimala Prasad, So when he approached Gaur Kishore Das Babaji for initiation, Babaji said that, I don't give initiation, so you may leave. He was very clear about that. He felt very sad and morose. He went to his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who then advised him that it's okay, when you are so desperate to take initiation, you can try again. So go back. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj realized that, actually, Sripad Ramanujacharya was also rejected 18 times by his Guru Maharaj. He's just rejected me once, so I will definitely go again. So then he again goes to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. And actually, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was following the example of Loknath Swami, because you remember we discussed that he had one disciple who actually ditched him, and after that, he decided that he's not going to initiate anybody. And Loknath Swami Maharaj Aracharya also had decided that he will not be giving initiations. So, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was following the example of Ramanujacharya, who had been rejected 18 times by his guru. So he was also very firm that this is what he wanted. Now, when again he went to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he went multiple times. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, first time he said, no, I don't give initiations. Second time he said that you're such a scholarly person, you're so good looking, you son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Why do you want to take initiation from me? Go take initiation from so many scholars back then. These are such good qualifications that you have, that you possess. And in those days, actually, so many of the Babajis, they wanted to initiate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj for the simple reason that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj was the biggest scholar in his time, and accepting a disciple like him would give them name and fame. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj could read people's mind and heart, and he knew that they were not genuine people. And he knew that Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was genuine guru, so that's why he was all the more desperate. Now, third time when he went, so the qualifications which he mentioned earlier, that you are so rich, you're so good looking, you're so scholarly, these are your good qualifications. Why do you want to take initiation from someone like me? This time he said all these because you are rich, because you are so scholarly. These are your disqualifications, and I cannot initiate you. He was very, very depressed. He was like, it's really taking time. So now again, one time, after some time, he approached again, and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, well, now that you're insisting so much, let me check with my Gaur Nitai. So he said he'll ask, Gaur Nitai. And he said, I'll let you know. Now the time passed, but then again he went and he said, Babaji, did you ask Gaur Nitai? So Babaji said, you know what, I actually forgot. Now he was really distressed. And then the news spread that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has taken a decision that if he will not get initiated by Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, then he's going to give up his life. Now this news reached Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he was very happy by the determination of his son. But at the same time, because he was his son, he thought this is, I need to intervene. So he went and he told Gaur Kishore Das Babaji that if you feel okay, then if you think he's worth it, please initiate him. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, of course I will initiate him. I'm just testing him. I'm increasing his love for me. That's the kind of, when you're so desperate to take initiation, then it's a success. Normally, that relationship between guru and disciple should be there. It is very, very important. So anyway, so then he initiated, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji initiated Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, that time Vimla Prasad, and gave him the name at that time, Shri Varsh Bhanvi Devi Daitya Das Brahmachari. Okay. Now, someone again asked him, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, why did you choose to get initiated by Gaur Kishore Das Babaji? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, if my guru had been absorbed 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds in Krishna Bhajan, I would not have taken initiation from him. But because he is absorbed 24 hours in Krishna Bhajan, and that is what drew me to him. In the same article, in Sajjan Toshni, Amar Prabhu Katha, he very humbly explains that every time I met my guru, he gave me a jolt, to his pride, basically. He was not that he had any pride, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, but it is just a way of his expressing his love. He said, every time I met my guru, he gave me a jolt, and my whole pride and my material desires were gone. So, when asked for Diksha and dust of the lotus feet of the guru, at the time of Diksha, that's how he was initiated. Because remember, he never used to let anybody touch his lotus feet. Now he said that I want dust from your lotus feet, Gurudev. So he actually took the dust from his lotus feet and, he just put it on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and that's how he got initiated. And after that, not only that, he himself touched his foot to the forehead of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Remember, in fact, that if anybody would touch his lotus feet, he would say, "You are doomed." Now, this time, this is how he get. This is how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj got initiation. So how special it was. Now, he had actually, he's explaining in the Amara Prabhu Katha article that my Gurudev had 3 assets. What were those 3 assets? One was his Kanthimala, and then he said 2 books, Prema Bhakti Chandrika and Prarthana. So one person sometime asked Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, then how do you get Bhakti, Babaji? So he said, do you have 25 paisa? So he said, yeah, why? So he said, okay, do you have 15 paisa? Do you have 10 paisa? So he said, okay, do you have 2 paisa? So he said, yes, Babaji, what am I supposed to do? He said, go and buy these 2 books, Prema Bhakti Chandrika and Prarthana. Both are for 1 paisa each. So that person asked, if they are for 1 paisa each, why did you say 25 paisa? So to begin with, then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, so that you buy 2 books for 1 paisa each, and rest of the 23 paisas you use to serve the Vaishnavas. And when they will bless you, only then will you be able to understand these 2 books. So just buying books doesn't help. We need the mercy, or reading them also doesn't help unless we have the mercy of a devotee to understand them. So this is a very, very important point, that how the mercy of a devotee can change our outlook, change our life altogether. What we need is the mercy of a devotee. So someone asked him, who is rich? Somebody asked this question to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and he said, the one who's absorbed in Krishna Leela in his heart is rich and is preaching to all. So it's one thing is to have the Leela within your heart, and the next step is to preach it out, to speak it out. So basically doing Krishna Katha. So one time, again like this, there was a lawyer in Navadvip, and he said, Babaji, I've bought this piece of land. I'll build a big kutir for you. Why are you staying like this? You can do your bhajan there. And how did Gaur Kishore Das Babaji respond? He said, you bought a piece of land in Navadvip, in the Dham. You think you have that much wealth, that you can buy something transcendental. The Dham is transcendental, and you think you can buy a piece of land there? This is your mundane vision, your materialistic vision. Dham is transcendental. Nobody can buy anything there. And that's how he sent him back. Then also one other very important thing about him is that everything was important about him, but this was something really special. He had no deities. He actually had a stone slab. On that, he used to write Hare Krishna Maha Mantra over and over again. By writing it over and over again every day, there was mark of it engraved of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And that particular Shila itself, he used to bathe with the Ganges water and used to say, this is Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, not different from Radha and Krishna. So this is how important chanting is, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When we say that we're chanting the holy names, and we say that the Lord is not different from his name and fame and form, this is a proof. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji actually did not have any deities. He just had that shila on which he had rewritten, again and again, the Maha Mantra. And then he used to worship them, that shila, by bathing it with Ganges water. Now, one time, one couple came and asked Gaur Kishore Das Babaji that we've heard about some Siddha Pranali mantra. It is a mantra by which you can find out your original constitution. So that is revealed to you. And they said that we want to have that Siddha Pranali mantra. Can you please give it to us? So Babaji Maharaj said, you want Siddha Pranali? They said, yes. So he said, okay. In their ear, what did he chant? Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He said, if anything can be revealed to you, it is only by chanting up Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is how precious Maha Mantra is. Then one time, there were so many Pakhandis in, Navadvip, and Babaji Maharaj, the number of these Pakhandis who were taking up to Babaji Vesh was increasing day by day, and this was not acceptable by Babaji Maharaj. And so he decided to, teach them what is the right thing to do. So what did he do? He asked for very opulent clothing, and then he dressed himself in very opulent clothings and went to Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj said, what is this? He said, how do I look? So he said, a Vaishnava, you're a Vaishnava. Vaishnava always looks very nice. But this is a different attire you're wearing. What's up with that? So he said, from now on, I've decided that I am going to give up my renunciant position and I'm going to get into my grahastha ashram. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj was looking at him that now what is this? So he said that, and then he told them that this, there are so many Pakhandis, it's better if I become a true grahastha than a false renunciant. And the message spread throughout Navadvip, and the Pakhandis there understood that Babaji Maharaj was not liking this attitude to accept the Vesh, the form of a renunciant, but not live up to the qualities of a renunciant. So that is one thing that was bothering him, and this is how he conveyed his message. Now, one time, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's disciple, Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he went up to his Guru Maharaj, that is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and he said, I want your blessings. So his Gurudev said, oh, really? You want my blessings? You go and see my Guru Maharaj. He was there in a public toilet. He had closed himself in a public toilet to chant. Why? Because everybody outside was creating a nuisance to his chanting, and he was not liking that being disturbed again and again. So he just locked himself in a public toilet because it was such a stinky place that nobody would come and bother him. But he was above all this. So he went and he locked himself. Actually, this Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari, he was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's disciple, and then he went there. He knocked. Babaji Maharaj did not open the door. He went back to his Guru Maharaj and he said, he's not opening the door. So he said, you tell him that the servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has come. So then he said, okay. He went there and again he knocked and he said that I am the servant of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Immediately he opened the door. He hugged him. He pulled him in. He hugged him and he closed the door. Now that one hug from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji empowered this disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj to the extent, actually he even gave him the blessing at that time that while serving your Guru, you will face many difficulties, but I bless you that you will get over them all. And it is this Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari who went to jail 6 times. He actually used to, from a distance, he used to look like his Guru, the same posture, same physique, everything. So it was easily to be mistaken. And he did that for his guru 6 times. So there were many conspiracies against Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and he was to be put behind the bars 6 times. And it is for his guru that he went, and he did that. And several attacks he faced just for protecting his Guru Maharaj. And this was all because of the blessings of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, because Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj had hugged him and had told him that you will face many difficulties, but you will easily cross over these. And one time, so then this Vinod Bihari Das Brahmachari ended up being Bhakti Pragnav Keshav Maharaj, who happens to be our Srila Prabhupada's sannyas guru. So he got initiated. Srila Prabhupada got his sannyas from this disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And one time when he was glorifying Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, it is then that he mentioned this, that I was able to cross over all the obstacles because of that one hug that I received from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. He was empowered by that hug. So then Gaur Kishore Das Babaji laid a lot of stress on how important it was not only to maintain, to maintain cleanliness, basically, not so much as external, but not only external, but internal as well. So and how do you clean yourself internally? By chanting. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, every day he would chant 3 lakh names of the Lord, which is around 192 rounds. But due to ecstatic feelings and emotions while chanting, he was not able to count the beads, so many of his rounds. So it ended up being 2 lakh names, when he was counting, because he always used to cry in mood of separation. So that's how he, would clean himself internally. And that's how powerful he was. Why was he so powerful? And, actually one time he fell sick. So many times actually while chanting, it would happen that, he would lose his beads. He was not able to count. So what he would do, the utriyam that he would wear, or the dhoti he would tie 108 knots to it and start chanting on that. That's how transcendental he was. One time he actually fell sick and he refused to go to Calcutta to get the medicine. He said he will not leave Navadvip. And then Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj came to see him and he brought him the medicine, and he said, okay, because you brought the medicine, I will take and I will not leave Navadvip. And he became perfectly okay. So basically, one time actually, so he was very much into giving love and respect to everybody on an equal vision. So he did not differentiate between men and women like that he said that everybody is is subjected to respect. In fact, he used to stay away from women, because a sannyasi or babaji is not supposed to mingle with women. One time actually he wanted to offer some milk to his some ghee actually to the deities, and he tied it to because when he put it on the ground, there were these ants coming, and he said, I want to first offer it to the Lord so that it becomes Mahaprasad, and then the ants can eat. That way they will also get the mercy. Thinking like that, he tied it, with a piece of the pot with a piece of cloth, and he hung it from the ceiling. Now a woman came there because she saw a snake draped around that rope, of cloth that he had made. And Babaji was absorbed in his bhajan, and he said, Babaji, snake. So Babaji very, nicely, he said, you please leave. I'll take care of the snake, because he considered that he being a Babaji, he was not supposed to be with women alone, and out of not that women are not objects, he considered women or everybody as an object of respect. So, considering that factor, he asked her to leave, and he said, I'll deal with the snake. So that's how detached he was. This was the example of his being Sakshat Vairagya Murti, Now, one time a devotee who knew Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was very, very strict, and he was taking blessings from his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj to take the blessings of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And he goes there, and normally Gaur Kishore Das Babaji would not meet many people. But when he learned that somebody, if XYZ has come from, he used to, actually, the title of the article was Amara Prabhu Katha, whereas Gaur Kishore Das Babaji used to consider Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj as his Prabhu. So if he would know that somebody is sent by him, he was more than willing to greet them. So this devotee, he went and he actually let him touch his lotus feet, which he never used to allow anybody. But he was in ecstasy after touching his lotus feet. Obviously, anybody would be. And then this devotee ended up being Bhakti Pradeep Tirth Maharaj. And while giving him the blessings, he had told him that you will become my Prabhu's first sannyas disciple. So Bhakti Pradeep Tirth Maharaj was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's first sannyas disciple. Then what happened was, one time one person came to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and he said, I want to hear about Rai Ramananda Samvad. So there is who Rai Ramananda is. Rai Ramananda in Gaur Leela is Arjuna, and Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. So in Krishna Leela, when Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Lord Krishna was speaking and Arjuna was listening. Now in Rai Ramananda Samvad, Samvad is conversation. So in the conversation between Rai Ramananda and Mahaprabhu, Rai Ramananda is speaking and Mahaprabhu is listening. So then this person said that I want to hear Rai Ramananda Samvad. And Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, have you heard about Krishna Arjun Samvad? That means, have you heard about Bhagavad Gita? He said, no. So he said, when Krishna is speaking and Arjuna is hearing, so when the Guru is speaking and the disciple is hearing, he's talking about Tattva. Tattva is something that means you need to understand. First, the basic thing is to be understood. The philosophy is to be understood. And when the disciple is speaking and the Guru is hearing, as in case of Rai Ramananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then he's speaking about rasa. So to understand rasa, first Tattva is to be understood. You first go and listen to Krishna speaking to Arjuna. That means you first go and read Bhagavad Gita and then you come to hear about Chaitanya Charitamrita, where you have the Rai Ramananda Samvad. Then, one time one person brought a very warm blanket and he gave it to Babaji. And he said that, Babaji, this is a very warm blanket and in cold winters, cold nights, it's going to keep you warm. So Babaji accepted. And then when he used it, he actually felt asleep. And then when he woke up, he realized that his time was wasted by this comfortable sleep because of the blanket. So he hung it around the wall. And then this person came and he said, Babaji, why have you hung the blanket there? He said, this blanket is so warm that I'm getting all the heat from there only. Don't worry, because it is disturbing my bhajan. That's how renounced he was, Now, when he was, his desire, when he left the body, he said that when I leave this body, I want my body to be rolled in the dust of Navadvip, holy dust of Navadvip. So on the Utthan Ekadashi, which is the last Ekadashi of the month of Kartik, the first day of Bhishma Panchak, in 1914, on 16th of November, he decided to leave. And, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is actually Damodar Dvaita Sakhi, okay? So he left in Brahm Muhurat, and because of his last desire, the other Babajis and, sannyasis, they started fighting over trying to claim over his body. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj came and he said, I am his only disciple and his body belongs to me and I will do the needful. So that way he fought for his Guru Maharaj, and then he took over this, and he built the Samadhi. So there was actually one devotee there by the name of Hira Lal Goswami. He came and he told about the last desire of Baba to get Samadhi either in Godrumadweep or Mayapur. But at that time, no proper arrangement was possible in both the places. And the third place Babaji had desired was on the Ghat, Ganga Ghat. So that was possible. And so he did that, Ganga Ghat in Koladweep, that's where they had the Samadhi. Now, internally, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, his internal desire was that he actually didn't want a Samadhi very close to Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj, because he considered Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj to be very, very advanced. He said, I don't deserve to be next to him. But then he had so much love for Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj that he said, I always want to be close to Amara Prabhu. They both used to address each other as Amara Prabhu. So, by Divya Leela, the Samadhi that was on the shore of the Ganges, the Yogmaya took a turn, and the Ganges, took a different course, and the Samadhi was being drowned. And Bhakti Pragna Keshav Maharaj, who we spoke about, was hugged, the one who was hugged by Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. When he saw that the Samadhi would be drowned, he took the Samadhi and he from the Ganges, and he placed it next to the present day Pushpa Samadhi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, which is close to Radha Kund, in Navadvip. And at that time, not Navadvip, Mayapur, and at that time he was intensely chanting the names of Lord Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And then he learned that this Samadhi was brought there, and he began chanting all the more ecstatically, chanting the names of his Guru. And when asked the reason for this ecstasy, he said, I was wishing to have the association of my Guru. And see, just by hearing my request, he left the shore of Ganges and he came next to me. So my Prabhu loves me so much. It's his mercy. So basically, this is how Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was. This was his transcendental life, of extreme renunciation from material life. And, because there was intense attachment for the Lord. So it is very, very difficult to give up the association of Dhan, that is Lakshmi, Stri, that is women, fame, that is, popularity, and in this particular order itself. But Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he was away from all of this. He was a personification of renunciation. So when Babaji Maharaj left, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, I will not preach anymore. My preaching was only because of bhajan of my Gurudev. But then in his dream came Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj and Bhakti Vinod Thakur. They both instructed him to continue his preaching work. And then from there on, with that mood, the preaching mood of Bhakti Vinod Thakur and the straightforwardness of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, that means with this uncompromising mood, with the mixture of these two moods, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj became a lion guru. So we should pray that we understand this mood, and that one day we also become subject to our Guru's mercy. So at this point, I'd like to end here, and if anybody has any questions, we can take from there.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So, kids, if you have any question, Manhar, please unmute yourself.
So my question is, when Bhakti Vinod Thakur got the comfortable blanket, and then how, like, can you repeat how did he wake up again? I forgot how he woke up again.
Oh, because he was always absorbed in bhajan, but with that comfortable night, just to teach an example to us how to take renunciation seriously from these material things. He had the Leela where he overslept, the number of hours he would sleep, which was barely anything because he was chanting 24 hours. But according to him, he slept little extra because of the comfort of under the comfort of that blanket. And that is why he hung that blanket on the wall of his bhajan kutir, and he said, I'll take the warmth of the blanket just by looking at it, because he didn't want to disturb his bhajan.
Okay.
Thank you, Manhar. Pratyush, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So my question is, what was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj's name before he took sannyas?
So before he took sannyas, that means after his first initiation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His name was Shri Varsh Bhanvi Devi Daitya Das Brahmachari.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratyush. Anjanaya, do you have any question? Anjanaya? Okay, Rishabh, please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Mataji, where was Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj born and when?
Present day, the place is in Bangladesh.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Rishabh. If anybody have any question, please raise your hand or unmute yourself. So Mataji, I think everybody cleared today's session. So if you want to share something in the end, Mataji, please.
Well, we all need to beg for our Guru Maharaj's mercy and chant seriously. Chanting is very, very important. So I hope you all are chanting, and please continue chanting. So we'll meet next Wednesday.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice session today. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.